Kestrel's hand meets yours. For a fraction of a second, there's a flicker of something in their green eyes, recognition, perhaps, or wariness. The firelight catches the faintest glint of movement beneath their hood. Then the lightning hits, a sharp crack arcs from your palm into Kestrel's hand. Their fingers spasm, teeth clench, and a low, guttural hiss escapes their lips. The smell of ozone mingles with honey and wood smoke, but they don't fall back. They don't yelp like Pippin did. They take it, hands shaking, eyes now wide and electric, locked onto yours with unsettling intensity.
Noted.
They manage, voice strained but steady. They slowly pull their hand away, flexing the tingling fingers. A faint crackle of residual static fizzles between their knuckles before fading. A long, heavy silence hangs over the tavern. Brahm's hand has drifted toward a heavy club beneath the counter. Pippin half rises from his seat, ready to intervene. Then Kestrel laughs, a low, rasping chuckle that grows into a genuine, surprised laugh. They shake their head, a mixture of pain and delight crossing their sharp features.
You've got a real talent for first impressions, Chaos Gnome.
They lean back in their chair, rubbing their hand with a wry grin.
I've been shocked by traps, cursed by sorceresses, and bitten by a wormling once. But this is the first time someone's rolled initiative just to shake my hand.
They pick up the honey-drizzled bread from earlier, take a bite, and chew thoughtfully.
All right, you've got my attention. What brings a one-gnome circus to Elswick in the dead of winter?
Peepers looks up at you, then at Kestrel, then back at you, as if also awaiting an answer. What do you do? Kestrel lets out a breathy laugh, leaning back and watching you with the kind of intense curiosity one might reserve for a beautiful, ticking time bomb.
The call of chat. A powerful directive indeed if it leads one to wander through mountain passes and assault watchmen with the touch of a storm.
Brahm grunts from behind the bar, finally relaxing his grip on the club, though his eyes remain narrowed.
Call of chat. Call of the void. Call of nature. As long as you pay for that honey and don't turn my tavern into a charcoal pit. Call it whatever you like.
Pippin, however, is looking at you with a newfound sense of awe, his hair still slightly frizzy from your previous encounter.
You're a strange one, Falamin. But Elswick is a strange place. Maybe that's why Beans picked you.
Kestrel taps a still tingling finger on the table.
So, the voices called you here. But where are they calling you next? People with your specific energy rarely stay in one place long enough for the dust to settle. Are you just passing through, or is there something in these foothills the voices want to poke with a stick?
Outside, the wind howls against the timber walls, and a fresh flurry of snow rattles against the window panes. Peepers makes a soft, rhythmic thrumming sound. Its single eye drifting, shut as it finally succumbs to the warmth of the tavern. Beans, ever the loyal companion, rests his heavy chin on your knee, looking up with big, soulful eyes that seem to ask, "What's the plan, boss? What do you do?" Do you tell Kestrel about the labyrinth scroll, ask about rumors in town, or perhaps demand more honey to fuel the voices? Pippin's mouth falls open. He looks at his boots, then at the dog, then at the empty space where his authority used to be.
Just like that? You're just taking the village patrol hound because the voices in your head filed a claim?
He looks at Beans. The dog doesn't even look back at Pippin. He just groans happily under your touch, leaning his full weight against your leg.
Unbelievable.
Pippin mutters, though he's reaching for his ale rather than his weapon.
I'm going to have to explain to the mayor why the Night Watch is now officially down one dog and up one chaotic gnome.
Brom leans over the bar, pointing a thick finger at you.
If the beast is yours, you're responsible for his mess. And he eats a lot of scraps. Don't think Chat is going to pay his tab.
Kestrel watches the change of ownership, with an amused glint in their eyes. They lean forward, the green in their eyes reflecting the hearth fire.
A bold acquisition. It seems you're building a pack. First the eye beast, now the hound. Every good protagonist needs a supporting cast, I suppose.
Kestrel's gaze shifts to your pack, specifically where the scroll case from the Seeker is tucked away.
The road south from here leads toward the Merchant's Pass. It's a long trek through the snow, and not everyone is as receptive to your brand of greeting as we are.
They take a slow sip of their drink, watching you over the rim.
If your voices haven't picked a direction yet, I'd suggest staying the night. The snow is picking up, and even a gnome with 8 advisors shouldn't be wandering the foothills when the winter wind starts to bite like this.
What do you do? Will you take Kestrel's advice and find a bed, or do you have more questions for the room? Brom pauses his cleaning, the rag frozen on the counter. He stares at you with a flat, unimpressed expression that only a dwarf who has seen everything can truly master.
A hole in the ground?
Brom grunts, a hint of a rumble in his chest that might be a laugh or indigestion.
If you want to sleep in the dirt, the cellar's got a few loose stones, but you'll be sharing it with the winter potatoes and a very territorial rat named Barnaby.
Pippin snorts into his ale.
He's joking, Brom. Mostly, I think.
He looks back at you, shivering slightly as a draft whistles through the door frame.
There's a room upstairs with a proper straw mattress and a hearth that hasn't smoked in 3 days. Better than a hole, unless you're planning on hibernating.
Brom reaches under the counter and thumps a heavy iron key onto the wood. It's attached to a wooden block carved with the number 4.
Gold first.
Brom commands.
1 gold piece for the night. That covers you, the 6-legged thing, and the dog thief's new pet. I'll throw in a bowl of mash for Beans in the morning, provided he doesn't bark at the guests.
Kestrel watches you with a quiet, observant smirk.
Sleep well, Falamin. Try not to let the voices argue too loudly. The walls here are thin, and I'd hate to be woken up by a debate on the merits of honey chugging.
Beans looks up at you, his tail giving one final, heavy thump against the floorboards. He's ready for a nap, and Peepers has already curled into a shaggy ball on your shoulder, vibrating with a low, contented hum. What do? Give Brom his gold and head upstairs? Or is there one last bit of chaos to sow before the hole in the ground calls your name? Brom scoops the gold coin off the bar with a practiced flick of his thumb, nodding once.
Up the stairs, 2nd door on the left. If you need more blankets, there's a chest at the end of the hall. Don't touch the others. They're for guests who don't shock people.
You lead your ragtag troop up the creaking wooden stairs. Beans follows with heavy, rhythmic paw steps, his nails clicking on the wood. While Peepers remains a warm, vibrating weight on your shoulder. Room 4 is small but cozy. The air is dry and smells of cedar and old wool. A modest hearth has been pre-laid with logs, needing only a spark to come to life. There is a single bed with a thick straw mattress and a heavy patchwork quilt, and a small rug on the floor that Beans immediately claims, circling 3 times before flopping down with a satisfied grunt. Peepers hops off your shoulder and scuttles over to the window, pressing its large blue eye against the frosted glass. Outside, the world has turned entirely white. The village of Elswick is being swallowed by a true mountain blizzard. The violet crystal lattice inside your pack pulses once, a soft, rhythmic throb of light that fades as quickly as it appeared, almost like a heartbeat settling into sleep. As you prepare to rest, the voices of chat hum at the edge of your consciousness, some arguing about the quality of the honey, others whispering about the seeker and the path to the Givany Delta. But for now, the warmth of the room lulls you toward a much-needed trance. You awaken to the pale, gray light of a winter morning, filtering through the frost-patterned window. The storm has settled into a gentle drift of flakes. Beans is already awake, sitting patiently by the door and wagging his tail the moment he sees your eyes open. Peepers is nowhere to be seen at first, until you feel a slight weight change in your hood. The little eye-beast has tucked itself in there for a nap. A faint knock sounds at the door, followed by Pippin's muffled voice.
Oi, Chaos Gnome! You alive in there? Brom's got that mash ready for the dog and I've got a message for you. Someone left something at the bar this morning.
How do you respond? You roll out of the straw mattress, peepers shifting slightly in your hood as you move. Beans lets out a short, eager whine and nudges the door with his nose, clearly smelling the promised breakfast downstairs. Opening the door, you find Pippin Shortstep leaning against the hallway wall. He looks like he hasn't slept much, likely the result of explaining his missing patrol dog to his superiors, but he perks up when he sees you.
Morning, or whatever you call it when you wake up this late.
Pippin says, rubbing his hands together to stay warm.
Brom's downstairs. He's grumpy, but that's just his face.
He reaches into his heavy wool cloak and pulls out a small, folded piece of parchment. It isn't sealed with wax, but it's held closed by a single, dried wildflower, a strange sight in the middle of winter.
A hooded fellow, not the one you were talking to last night, a different one. Dropped this off at dawn. Said it was for the gnome of many names. Didn't stick around for a drink.
Pippin hands you the note.
Anyway, Beans looks hungry, shall we?
He starts heading down the creaking stairs toward the common room, where the smell of sizzling bacon and hot oats is drifting up. What do? Do you open the note immediately or head down for breakfast first? The note is folded tight, the dried flower petals brittle to the touch. You stop at the top of the stairs, the brittle wildflower crunching slightly between your fingers as you carefully unfold the parchment. The paper is high quality, smelling faintly of old library dust and ozone. The handwriting is elegant, with long, sweeping loops that seem to vibrate if you stare at them too long.
The voices are loud today, aren't they? The seeker mentioned a spark, but forgot to mention the lightning. A word of advice for your journey toward the Delta. The path through the Merchant's Pass is currently being watched by those who do not appreciate chaotic dispersal. Seek the oasis of serenity instead of taking the main road. Ask for the Weaver. They owe the labyrinth a favor, and they might help you keep your dog and your head. Enjoy the honey while it lasts. K.
As you finish reading, the ink begins to shimmer with a pale purple glow. Before your eyes, the letters dissolve into tiny, glowing motes of light that float upward and vanish into the ceiling. The parchment is left completely blank. I guess that message was self-destructing. Very dramatic, 10-10 for presentation. Peepers pokes its head out of your hood, looking at the blank paper and blinking its large blue eye. It lets out a small chirp of confusion. Pippin, who had paused a few steps down, looks back up at you.
Bad news. Or just a very confusing breakfast invitation.
Downstairs, you can hear the clatter of plates and the low rumble of Brom's voice. What do? Do you keep the blank paper, tell Pippin what was in it, or head down to find kestrel or breakfast? Pippin blinks at your exclamation, his brow furrowing in total confusion.
NPC cards, is that one of the voices? Does it have a nice voice at least?
He shakes his head, deciding not to pull that particular thread for the sake of his own sanity.
Right, cards, brilliant. Let's get you fed before you start shuffling them.
You descend into the common room. The morning crowd is sparse, a few local laborers nursing mugs of weak tea and a merchant checking his ledgers. The hooded stranger from last night, Kestrel, is notably absent from their corner, their seat now occupied by a very large, very flat loaf of bread. Brom looks up from the bar, sliding a wooden bowl filled with a thick, meaty mash onto the floor.
There, for the hound. If he chokes on it, don't blame the cook.
Beans doesn't need a second invitation. He's on the mash instantly, tail thumping rhythmically against a table leg. For you. Brom sets down a steaming bowl of oats topped with a generous dollop of butter, and as requested by your previous antics, a heavy drizzle of honey.
Eat up, Falaman. You'll need the fuel if you're heading out. The snow's light now, but the wind's picking up toward the pass.
Peepers hops onto the table, eyeing your honeyed oats with intense, singular focus. A small shimmering glyph of a spoon and a smiling face appears in the air briefly, before the eye beast tries to faceplant into your breakfast. Pippin sits across from you, leaning in.
So the note. You looked like you were seeing ghosts. You heading toward the Merchant's Pass then? Or did Chat decide on a scenic route through the frozen woods?
What do you do? Will you share your plans with Pippin, interrogate Brom about the Oasis of Serenity, or simply focus on the vital task of feeding honey to yourself and Peepers? You are quite literally lost in the sauce. The world outside of the honey-drenched oat ceases to exist. You and Peepers operate in a synchronized dance of caloric intake. You scoop a spoonful, Peepers catches a drip, and for a few blissful minutes, the voices in your head are drowned out by the rhythmic slurp and clink of the wooden spoon. Pippin watches you for a full minute, his mouth hanging slightly open. He looks at Brom looks at him.
Is they all right?
Pippin whispers, waving a hand in front of your face. You don't blink, you just find another pocket of honey. Brom sighs, leaning his elbows on the bar.
They're fine, Pippin. They've just reached a higher plane of existence. It's called breakfast. I wish I could get that excited about oats.
Peepers let out a muffled MRPH as it accidentally gets a bit of oat stuck to its shaggy fur. Its blue eye dilated with pure, unadulterated glucose joy. Beans, having finished his mash, rests his head on your thigh, letting out a long, contented sigh that vibrates through your chair. Eventually, the bottom of the bowl appears. The honey is gone. The oats are a memory. You are sticky, Peepers is sticky, and the silence of the room returns. Pippin clears his throat, trying one more time.
Right. Well, since you're back with us, I was saying, if you're heading toward the pass, you might want to check your gear. But if you're looking for that oasis place...
He lowers his voice, glancing at the other patrons.
That's a bit off the beaten path. Not many folks talk about it. Sounds like something out of a bedtime story or a map for people who don't want to be found.
Brom wipes a spill off the counter.
The Merchant's Pass is a 3-day trek if the weather holds. If you're going elsewhere, well, just make sure the dog knows where he's going, because I don't think you do.
What would you like to do next? Do you ask about the oasis? Brom accepts the coins with a nod of his head, his gruff exterior softening just a fraction perhaps out of respect for your sheer commitment to the honey.
Safe travels, gnome. Try not to shock anyone else on your way out. It's bad for business.
Pippin stands as well, walking you to the heavy timber door of the tavern. As you pull it open, a gust of crisp, cold air rushes in, swirling the wood smoke and the scent of oats. The village of Elswick is quiet, tucked under a fresh blanket of white.
Take care of him.
Pippin says, looking down at Beans with a bittersweet smile. He reaches down to give the hound one last scratch behind the ears.
And keep your head on straight, Falamin, or as straight as the 8 of you can manage.
Beans lets out a sharp, encouraging bark and trots out into the snow, his tail flagging like a banner. Peepers, perched securely in your hood, lets out a series of high-pitched chirps, its single eye darting around the shimmering landscape. You stand in the center of the village square. To the south, the main road leads toward the merchants past the wide, well-traveled trade route that eventually leads to the heart of the continent. However, the note from Kay suggested a different route, seeking the oasis of serenity to avoid those who might be watching the pass. To find the oasis, you'd likely need to head southwest, veering off the main road and into the more rugged, less charted foothills of the Iron Ridge Mountains. The snow is light, the air is cold, and the voices are already debating the best direction to take. Which way do you head, and how do you begin your journey? You set off toward the south, following the main trade road that cuts through the foothills. Beans takes point, his large paws crunching through the fresh powder with rhythmic stability. He seems to know this road well, occasionally pausing to sniff a frozen bush or look back to ensure you and Peepers are still following. The first hour of travel is peaceful. The world is a silent, monochromatic masterpiece of whites and grays. The air is so cold it stings the back of your throat, but the walking keeps your blood moving. Peepers has retreated deep into your hood, occasionally poking its eye out to watch the snowflakes drift past like tiny white moths. As the morning progresses, the path begins to narrow. Steep, rocky inclines rise on either side the pass, beginning to earn its name. You notice that the wagon ruts in the road are old and filled with snow. No one has traveled this way since the storm began last night. Around mid-morning, you come across a sight that breaks the pristine white landscape. A merchant's wagon sits lopsided in a ditch, its rear axle snapped. There are no horses in sight, and the canvas cover has been torn open, fluttering like a lonely ghost in the wind. Beans stops dead in his tracks. His hackles rise in a low, rumbling growl begins in his chesta, sound much deeper and more serious than any he made in the tavern. Peepers produces a shimmering glyph, a red jagged circle, danger warning. What do? Do you investigate the wagon, keep moving past it, or have chat consult with the voices on how to proceed? You skip toward the wrecked wagon with a gleeful disregard for the tension radiating from your companions. Ooh, shiny things for the voices, you chirp, ignoring Bean's low, vibrating growl and Peeper's frantic, flickering red glyphs. As you clamber over the side of the lopsided cart, the smell of wood smoke and something metallic, iron and copper, greets you. The interior is a mess of shattered crates and spilled grains. You begin tossing aside heavy sacks of flour, sending white clouds into the air, until you spot a glint of something interesting in a locked iron-bound chest tucked under the driver's bench. Jackpot, you exclaim. Reaching for the latch, suddenly a massive, hairy hand, thick with matted brown fur and tipped with black claws, slams onto the lid of the chest, pinning it shut just inches from your fingers. A low, wet snarl echoes from the shadows of the wagon's deepest corner. A bugbear, draped in a crude cloak made of wolf pelts, leans forward. Its yellow eyes are wide and bloodshot, and its breath smells like rotting meat.
Mine?
It rumbles, its voice like grinding stones.
Small meat finds shiny. Now small meat is shiny.
From the snow-covered rocks above the road, two more shadows detach themselves. Two goblins, armed with shortbows, cackle as they knock arrows, aiming straight for your colorful gnome head.
Easy pickings.
One shrieks in a high-pitched, scratchy voice.
The big dog can't climb rocks.
Beans barks a fierce, echoing warning and lunges toward the side of the wagon, his teeth bared. Peepers dives deep into your backpack, only it's wide. Terrified eye peeking out from behind your spellbook. Well, you wanted shiny things. You found a bugbear's favorite box. Good luck with the negotiations. Combat has begun. The cold air crackles as the tension snaps into violence. The goblins are quick, but your chaotic reflexes, honed by years of dodging exploding teapots, keep you right in the thick of the action. Initiative order: 1. Goblin Snipers 19. 2. Chat 14. Your turn. 3. Beans 11. 4. Bugbear Thug 8. Round 1 begins. The goblin snipers perched on the rocks above waste no time. They let out a synchronized cackle and release their arrows. Goblin 1 fires at you. Natural 20, critical hit. The arrow whistles through the air and snags the edge of your ear, dealing 9 piercing damage. Goblin 2 fires at Beans. A miss, the arrow buried itself in the snow by the hound's paws. The bugbear is still snarling, its hand heavy on the chest, preparing to lunge at you. It is now your turn. You are currently inside the lopsided wagon, mere feet away from the bugbear thug. The two goblins are about 30 feet away, perched on a rocky ledge 10 feet above the road. Oops. Too hot, you shriek as you throw your hands forward. A massive cone of roaring, orange and white flames erupts from your fingertips, filling the interior of the cramped wagon. Bugbear dexterity save, 6 total, 8, failed. The bugbear doesn't even have time to scream before the wall of fire slams into him. The dry wood of the wagon and the canvas cover ignite instantly. The brute is engulfed in the blast, his fur and wolf pelt cloak turning into a localized inferno. He reels back, howling in agony as 16 fire damage chars his hide. The wagon is now on fire. While the bugbear is blinded by the smoke and pain, you lunge for the iron-bound chest. Your small gnome hands heave the heavy box upward. Your strength score really isn't built for this. But the adrenaline of impending death is a wonderful motivator, and you scramble over the side of the burning wagon. You hit the snow and sprint as fast as your short legs can carry you, the chest clutched to your chest. Beans' turn. Seeing you make a break for it, Beans lets out a fierce bay. He doesn't retreat. Instead, he lunges at the burning wagon to keep the bugbear occupied, snapping at the brute's ankles to ensure he can't chase you immediately. He uses his action to help, giving the next attack against the bugbear advantage, or simply distracting him. Bugbear Thug's turn. The bugbear emerges from the flaming wreckage, smoking and smelling of burnt hair. He is severely wounded. Enraged and seeing his shiny box being carried away by a sprinting gnome, he ignores the dog and hurls a javelin at your retreating back. Attack roll, 15 versus AC 12, hit. Damage roll, 6 piercing damage. The javelin whistles through the air and bites into your shoulder, nearly knocking you over, but you keep your grip on the chest. Round 2 begins. Goblin Sniper's turn. They see their meal and their loot running away. They shift their aim toward you. Goblin 1, 18 versus AC 12, hit. 5 damage, Goblin 2. 9 versus AC 12, miss. An arrow thuds into the heavy wooden chest you're carrying, but another grazes your leg. You are looking quite ragged, chat. It is now your turn. You have moved about 25 feet away from the wagon. The bugbear is behind you, currently engaged with Beans near the fire. The goblins are still on the rocks, 30 feet to your flank. You are still holding the heavy chest, which counts. Beans, run. The VOICES say we're leaving. You shriek over your shoulder, your voice cracking with the cold and the sheer panic of being a very small gnome carrying a very heavy, air-riddled box. You put your head down and pump your legs. The snow sprays up around your boots as you push yourself into a full dash. With the adrenaline surging and your heart hammering against your ribs like a trapped bird, you cover a massive 50 feet of ground, leaving the burning wagon and the snarling bugbear in a cloud of frozen mist. Beans' turn. The hound is nothing if not loyal and smart. Hearing your command, he lets out one final, defiant bark at the smoking bugbear, nips at the air to keep the brute back, and then turns tail. He easily outpaces the heavy brute, bounding through the snow to catch up to you, his large form acting as a fuzzy shield between you and the rocks. Bugbear Thug's turn. The bugbear stands by the flaming wreckage of the wagon, his fur smoldering and his skin blistered. He lets out a roar of pure, frustrated hatred. He tries to give chase, but between his burns and the deep snow, he realizes he can't catch a sprinting hound and a magically fueled gnome. He hurls one last cursing goblin, kicking a smoldering crate in fury. Round 3 begins. Goblin Sniper's turn. The goblins aren't giving up that easily. They scramble along the rocky ledge, trying to keep you in sight as you bolt down the road. Goblin 1 fires, 14 versus AC 12, hit, damage, 4 piercing damage. Goblin 2 fires, 11 versus AC 12, miss. an arrow catches you in the back of the thigh. You stumble, the heavy chest nearly slipping from your numb fingers, but you stay on your feet. You are critically wounded, HP 6/30. It is now your turn. You are now 75 feet away from the burning wagon. The bugbear has stopped chasing, but the goblins are still 40 feet away on the ridge, knocking more arrows. The road ahead curves sharply behind a large rock formation, which could provide total cover if you can reach it. Mine. It's mine, you wheeze, your breath coming in ragged, frozen gasps. Your vision is beginning to swim with spots of gray and red. But your fingers are locked around the iron handles of that chest, with the strength of a gnome possessed. You push your body past its breaking point, ignoring the searing pain in your leg and the biting cold. You scramble, slip, and vault over a fallen log, your boots skidding on a patch of black ice. Behind you, you hear the frantic wish-wish of 2 more arrows. Goblin 1 fires. 10 versus AC 12, miss. The arrow clatters harmlessly against a stone. Goblin 2 fires. 11 versus AC 12, miss. This one thuds into the snow inches from your heel. The gods of chaos are smiling on you, or perhaps the goblins are just laughing too hard at your wobbling run to aim straight. With a final, desperate surge of energy, you and Beans round a massive, jagged outcropping of granite. The rock wall is 20 feet high and solid, cutting off the goblin's line of sight completely. You collapse against the cold stone, sliding down until you're sitting in the snow, the heavy chest resting on your lap. Your heart is thumping so loudly, it's the only thing you can hear. Beans stands over you, huffing heavily, his warm breath creating clouds of steam. He licks your face once, a rough, salty wake-up call, before turning to growl back the way you came. The goblin's shrill cries fade into the distance. It seems they aren't keen on leaving their high ground to chase a wizard and a warhound into a potential ambush. Peepers slowly creeps out of your hood, looking at you with a wide, watery eye. It produces a shimmering glyph, a green heart with a cracked line through it. Warning. You are at 6 HP. One more hit could be fatal. The silence of the snowy pass returns, broken only by the distant crackle of the burning wagon you left behind. You are safe for the moment, but you are bleeding and exhausted. You fangle the cork off the glass vial with your teeth and tilt your head back, draining the shimmering crimson liquid. The magical draft works its wonders, sending a pleasant tingle through your small frame as your wounds close. You feel a bit more like your chaotic self again. You regain 9 HP, current HP. 1530 now, for the main event. You turn your attention to the iron-bound chest. It's heavy, scorched on one side from your burning hand spell, and stuck firmly with a sturdy iron lock. Since you don't have a key, You decide to use a bit of gnome ingenuity or perhaps just brute force and a bit of magic. How would you like to open it? You could try to pick it if you have tools or a very sturdy needle. Use a spell. Or simply try to smash the lock with your quarterstaff. Wait as you inspect the lock. You notice a small engraving just above the keyhole. It's a tiny, stylized purple eye, nearly identical to the one in your crystal lattice. Peepers leans forward, its own large eye widening as it stares at the engraving. It lets out a soft, melodic thrum that vibrates in the cold air. What do? Chat says that you should look, Peepers. You announce, holding the shivering eye beast toward the iron-bound chest like a fuzzy offering. Peepers tenses its 6 spindly legs, its large luminous blue eye dilating until the pupil is almost non-existent. It leans in so close that its shaggy gray fur brushes against the cold iron. The little creature begins to emit a rhythmic, pulsing cyan light from its eye, mirroring the heartbeat-like thrum of the crystal lattice still tucked in your pack. As the light hits the engraved purple eye on the lock, the metal begins to glow with a matching arcane violet hue. You hear a series of complex metallic clicks, not the sound of a lock being picked, but the sound of gears recognizing a master. Clack, the heavy lid of the chest pops open an inch, releasing a small puff of chilled, lavender-scented air. Inside, resting on a bed of black velvet, you find 1. A stack of 150 gold pieces. Ooh, shiny. 2. A small glass vial containing a swirling, silvery liquid. A parchment tag tied to the neck reads, Potion of Mind Reading. 3. A strange, heavy iron key with a handle shaped like a coiled serpent. 4. A bundle of letters tied with a silk ribbon. The top envelope is addressed to the Weaver, Oasis of Serenity. Peepers lets out a triumphant cheer-up and produces a glyph of a chest and a dancing gnome. Even Beans trots over, sniffing the velvet interior with curious interest. You literally used a magical creature as a skeleton key. The voices should be proud. Or terrified, probably both. What do you do with your new loot? The road ahead still stretches toward the south, and the snow is beginning to fall a bit harder.